Hey, what's going on, guys? It's FPL Yusuf here, and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be bringing you guys my Game Week 6 transfer plans video. And yes, I have activated my wildcard after a terrible Game Week 5. I have decided to pull the trigger and activate my wildcard. So in this video, we'll do a quick little recap of how we got on in Game Week 5. I'm going to show you a whole list of everyone from goalkeepers to forwards at best to worst options to pick. And of course, what my current wildcard draft is looking like as well. So I do hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below. And as always, let's just jump straight into it. Okay, welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for being here with me today on my YouTube channel for another video. So like I said in the intro, yes, it was a terrible Game Week 5, which is kind of prompted me to activate my wildcard for this game week. There was always consideration to do it anyway, but obviously after how Game Week 5 just went, it was just a mess. So let's take a quick little run through of what the team's looking like. So we'll start off in goal. Robert Sanchez obviously got himself sent off after 5 minutes. Just an absolute, he was the one that I was kind of banking on against the poor Man United side to keep a clean sheet because the game week wasn't going too well up until then. And then when I saw that, it just made me laugh because it was like, I think I received every piece of bad luck this week that I could have got in one game week. So he obviously ended on -3. The defense was so unfortunate as well. Joe Rodon, 2 points for him, only conceding 1 goal to Wolves, and you'll see that becomes a bit of a theme with his team. Joachim Anderson did manage to get 4 points. He hit DEFCON. Again, he conceded 1 goal to Brentford. Again, Munoz, I actually went for a very differential captain this week. And my reason behind it was I thought West Ham aren't that great at defending balls into the box, whether it be from corners, indirect free kicks, crosses. And he plays so high up the pitch and he's going to get the service into Mateta. I thought, okay, there's maybe a chance for an assist here, but also on the offside, West Ham aren't really in that good form at the moment, so there's a chance for a clean sheet. And if you saw the goal West Ham scored, I couldn't even believe that they scored it from that. It was that's probably one of the worst goals I've ever seen defend from a corner from Crystal Palace. And you know, ironically, Palace as a team, I wouldn't expect that from them. So yeah, the way Munoz lost his clean sheet really just kind of summed up this game week. And to finish it off, Jed Spence, 1 minute played, 1 point, blocked my Tijani Reinders 9-pointer on the bench. When I tell you this game week, I've played FPL for a long time now. And I've had game weeks with even lower score than this. Like the overall score, 35. It's not great, but it wasn't the worst. I've had worse game weeks than that. But in terms of how this game week transpired and what happened, this might be arguably my worst game week ever. So yeah, that was the defense. The midfield didn't do any better either. Enzo only 1 point. Cody Gakpo 2 points. If I wasn't going to captain Munoz, he would have been the captain. So either way, the captaincy points this week we're going to get, just a 2 doubled. Antoine Semenyo getting 5 points, hit DEFCON, clean sheet. I mean, judging by how my team's gone this week, I would take whatever DEFCON, whatever clean sheet points that I could get. So yeah, he's fine. Onto the front line, Erling Haaland continues to do what he does best, score. I didn't actually expect him to get a goal against Arsenal, if I'm being honest with you. And in hindsight, I probably should have just captained him just because the form he's in. I know Arsenal's so good defensively, but he is just a different level striker. So I probably should have had a little bit more faith in him. Ekitike, one of my favourite players at the moment, unfortunately probably will be leaving my team after this week. Did go out on a high with a goal, getting 2 bonus points. Victor Gyökeres, we're going to talk about him in a little while as well. Another blank for him. Not looking that great at the moment for Arsenal and Victor Gyökeres up front. So that was the overall team, 35 points. Like I said, it wasn't the greatest score in the world, but it actually wasn't the worst. But it just, I think certain things that transpired this week kind of made this week feel a lot worse than what it actually was. We're currently sitting at 2.8 million. It's not the best rank in the world. We've dropped about 1 million this game week. So yeah, a little bit frustrating with that. But hopefully, fingers crossed, wildcard activated, we can bounce back in this coming game week. Right, so as Game Week 6 is quite a big wildcard window, I thought, let me just answer some key questions surrounding kind of certain players that we might be looking to take in or out on the wildcard. So we'll start off with the Aston Villa pairing of Ollie Watkins and Morgan Rogers. Now, last week I did speak on these guys and I said Morgan Rogers was a sell for me last week. I wasn't seeing the value there. I thought, other midfielders around his price, Enzo, Caicedo, Anderson from Forest. There was a lot more midfielders who you could downgrade who are getting a lot more output. Ollie Watkins, I was a little bit more lenient towards. I thought, okay, maybe, if anyone's going to score for Aston Villa, it probably will be him over Morgan Rogers. Morgan Rogers looks so off it at the moment. But obviously, yet again, another blank for the pairing. If you are on wildcard, I know they have a good fixture coming up, but I think it's just time to get rid. Until Aston Villa start proving that they can score goals, I think for me personally, if you're on a wildcard now, you're looking to set it up for the long-term run. So if it was me and I own those assets, I'd be shifting them off ASAP. So yeah, if you've got Aston Villa players, get rid. If you're not activating wildcard this week, say you've only got 1 free transfer, Morgan Rogers would be the one I would get out first before Ollie Watkins, because Watkins did have chances against Sunderland. Obviously, didn't finish any of them, but the point is that I feel like that's going to happen at some stage. Morgan Rogers, I just cannot see it happening at any stage right now. So yeah, if you're on a wild card, I would go with no Aston Villa at all. If you're not on a wild card, you've only got to see like a 1-free transfer, Rogers would be the first one out for me. Okay, next up, the Liverpool attack. Now, this is where things get very interesting. So obviously, right now, Liverpool are trying to get Isak back up to fitness. Now, I did say in my last week video, I did expect Ekitike to start, which he did, and I did expect him to get the early sub, which again, he did. So even without Isak there, Ekitike hasn't played in 90 minutes yet. He keeps getting changed for Chiesa. Now that Isak's here and, he's building up his match fitness, Liverpool have a game in midweek. I expect him to play minutes in that. I think Ekitike will start game week 6, and then game week 7, that's where things could become problematic. So if you are on a wild card, how do you go about investing in the Liverpool attack? To be honest with you, I think it's either Mo Salah or no one. I think the minutes are just too much of a risk. Obviously, you've got Ekitike, Isak, Chiesa, who could all play up front, where Gakpo is on the left, Chiesa can play there. Florian Wirtz, we saw him come on there in the number 10 role. Szoboszlai can play there, Wirtz can play there. So there's just too many different pieces there for me that they just can't guarantee minutes. And the thing is, because Liverpool attack is so good, theoretically, they could do the job before they get subbed off, like around the 65th, 70th minute, as we saw with Ekitike this week. He got his goal, was on 2 bonus points, but I personally am not the type of manager that can just keep relying on that. And I think a lot of people are the same, where I'd rather have the guaranteed minutes. And if I am going to invest in Liverpool attack, I'd probably want to go for Mo Salah, just because he's on penalties, he's going to play 90 minutes, and there's just no uncertainty around him. He's going to play. Whereas the rest of them, I think it's just too hit and miss. Maybe Isak becomes an option once we start seeing him regular. But even then, Ekitike is going to get minutes somewhere. And, Arne Slot said that he doesn't really see him on the left. He's a main number 9. So, yeah, for me, Liverpool attack for now is just to stay away. I know it seems crazy because obviously Liverpool are going to probably be one of the highest scorers this season. But for me personally, just not a team that I would be looking to be invested in going forward. And the last question on this is about a 5-defender formation. Now, in the years gone past, this has always been an absolute no-go because obviously you only got clean sheet or attacking returns from defenders. Now with the DEFCON and with the price points of certain players who we're going to talk about in the next section, I actually feel like 5-back might actually be the way to go going forward. So certain players who are very good on DEFCON, the Tarkowskis of the world, the Senessis, Andersons at defence, even on a bad game week, they can still get you 3 or 4 points, which over the course of the season, it will rack up versus last season where it would have just been a 2, maybe a 1. So yeah, I definitely think that 5-back formation could be the way to go this year. And obviously, if you're trying to shoehorn Salah and Haaland in, trying to get to midfielders and forwards who are sort of around that 4.55 million, there's not really that many options. Whereas in the defence, you have a lot more room to sort of choose from and a lot more options to pick from. So yes, I do think a 5-back formation is definitely viable. I think it's something that I'm personally looking at on this wild card, about setting up a structure that can have that. But yeah, I think with the the addition of DEFCON this year, I think definitely you can run a 5-back formation. I think, like I said, if you're trying to get Salah, Haaland, maybe a Bruno, Palmer, whoever it is, these premiums, you can't get the sort of 7 millions, the Semenyos, Mitoma, Mintes. It becomes a little bit more harder, whereas the defenders who are getting 4.5s, Senessis, Andersons, these type of players here, they're getting regular 4s to 6s because of the DEFCON. So yeah, for me, definitely an option and something that which I am definitely considering on my wildcard this week. Right, so let's take a little look at all positions. So I'm going to go from goalkeepers all the way to forwards for players who we should be looking on wildcards. So I'm going to rank them from top to bottom. I haven't really gone for that many dud picks because obviously you're not going to pick up just players who aren't going to play. Like Ethan Wanyeri from Arsenal, you're not going to pick him, are you? Because he's just not going to play. So I've sort of ranked them from my sort of top to bottom. So light green is the best. Obviously, going down to dark green to light yellow to dark yellow and so on and so on. So yeah, we'll start with the goalkeepers first. Not really too much to talk about here. I've got Donnarumma in at number 1. His short-term fixtures are very, very good. I do expect 3 clean sheets from the next 3 for Manchester City. It's Burnley, Brentford, and Everton as the next 3. He's currently, at the time we recording this, only 3.6% owned. I do believe he's gone up in price. I'm recording this Monday morning, so I haven't checked the price changes yet, but I did bring him in last night on my wild card. So Donnarumma is at number 1, closely followed by David Raya at number 2. Obviously, the Arsenal defence is just, over the course of the season, they will keep the most clean sheets. There's no doubt about that. I think the reason why I've gone Donnarumma first is just because Arsenal play Newcastle away this week. Arsenal could theoretically keep a clean sheet. Newcastle haven't exactly been scoring a lot of goals recently. But I just think for the upcoming fixtures in the short run, I think Manchester City's fixtures just surpass Arsenal's. And obviously, Donnarumma at 3.6% owned is a very big differential. I don't expect him to stay like that. I think towards the end of the week, we'll see his price rocket up to, I think, anywhere between 10 to 12%, which obviously is still a major differential, but compared to what he is now, it's really a differential now. I've gone for Nick Pope just under David Raya, who's gone completely, I think Newcastle defence in general have gone completely under the radar. 4 clean sheets from the first 5 games, which I think, is very, very good. Now, a lot of them aren't really priced at 4.5. They're sort of 5 million above. So you will have to pay that little bit extra premium. But obviously, maybe this week is not the entry point. Obviously, Arsenal at home. Newcastle at St James's Park are always going to be a difficult opposition, but obviously you'd fancy Arsenal just to sort of scrape that win. And last up, I've gone for Vicario. Short-term fixture turnaround for Spurs are really good. Wolves, Leeds in the next two. So again, you should be expecting 2 clean sheets from that. But I think overall, Donnarumma at number 1 and David Raya at number 2, these would be the 2 that I'd be looking at wildcard. If you are looking to differentiate, I've given you 2 others in Pope and in Vicario. But yeah, I think I'd probably be going for one of either Manchester City or Arsenal on the goalkeepers. Then we move on to defence. Now, I've gone for the 2 Arsenal boys up first, Gabriel and Saliba. I know they did concede yesterday to Manchester City, but again, Arsenal don't ever seem to really concede more than a goal a game. Both of them are, they're still fairly low owned compared, like judging by the team that they're playing. And obviously, Gabriel, at the time we recording this, like I said, is 22.2% owned. Saliba's a lot less. He's at 12%. I think Gabriel's threat from set pieces. Obviously, Saliba's been out injured as well. By the end of this game week, I do expect Gabriel to be in the 30+%. I do expect Saliba to be pushing towards the 20. So I think, you will probably see a big rise because just for the sheer amount of wild cards that are being played. They are obviously on the premium side of things, which makes them a little bit more expensive. But I do think, like I said, over the course of the next sort of 7 game weeks or so, you should be looking at good returns from them. Senesi, Anderson, Van der Ven, all around the same price point. I put all of them here. I think, all of them have got good fixtures coming up. Van der Ven over the next 2 have got great fixtures. Anderson and Senesi rotate very well long term. Obviously, both of them are great for DEFCON as well. And I think, as we were talking about the 5-back formation in the previous section, I think these are the type of players that you want in your team, because if they do keep a clean sheet in a big-ish game, more than likely they're going to end up on DEFCON, which means they've gone from a clean sheet, 2 for play-ins, that's 6 in total, 2 for the DEFCON, and it's probably going to push them into bonus as well. So we saw it a few weeks ago from Joachim Andersen, where he got 10 points for that exact same thing, where he got the clean sheet, got the bonus, and got the DEFCON. So these type of players here at 4.5 to 4.7 will tick over very nicely. So yeah, for me, very high up. If you are wildcarding, I would 100% be looking at them. Still fairly low owned as well. Again, like I said, with the Arsenal players, I do expect their percentages to rise come the end of the week, obviously, as more people start to bring them in. I've got at the midsection, Tarkowski, Van der Ven, Romero, a little bit more on the expensive side of things, all 5 million above. I think all do offer their own, upsides. Romero, more so short-term fixtures, set-piece threat. Tarkowski, just a DEFCON machine. Every single game so far this season, he has hit DEFCON. And like I said in the previous bit, when Everton do keep a clean sheet and he gets those DEFCONs, that's an 8 to 10 pointer right there for him. Van Dijk, again, same thing. I think if you are going to invest in Liverpool, I think he's probably the only one I would look to invest in, because DEFCON-wise, he's just a monster. And, in those games where Liverpool are sort of going 50-50 back and forth from someone like we saw in Bournemouth in the first game week, he will get those DEFCONs as well. So I think, he's a bit more on the expensive side, and I think I probably would choose an Arsenal defender over him right now. But I think he's still a fine hold if you're looking for someone for a long-term pick. And then towards the back end of this list, I've got for the Newcastle and the Crystal Palace boys. All are fine options, by the way. I wouldn't begrudge anyone for going them. There are good, cheap prices there. Chris Richards, Mark Gahey, a little bit more expensive with the Newcastle boys, and obviously Munoz at the premium. But I think the reason why they're just a little bit lower than everyone else is solely just because of fixtures. But I think over the course of the season, you'll probably want to just get one of them in and just hold them anyway. So yeah, especially the Crystal Palace players, they make good enablers for elsewhere in the team. So that is the defense. I've ranked it from top to bottom, like I said, but I don't think any of these players on this list are necessarily bad. I put Munoz at the bottom just because he's the most expensive, and I think his attacking output hasn't been as much as maybe he should have been getting recently. Maybe that's just a little bit unfortunate, but yeah, that is the defense for the wild card picks. Then we come on to the midfield. Antoine Semenyo, 45% or nearly half the game we've got him. That percentage will be over 50% by the time game week 6 comes around. I'm almost sure of it because of the wild cards. He's just a great price point. Even now at 7.7, I think he is. He still offers a great route to points. He's got a good long-term hold to about 14-15 as well. So he's someone you can just literally put in there. No, he's going to play 90 minutes. He's currently on penalties as well. So, yeah, for me, Antoine Semenyo is top of that list. Bruno Fernandes is just close behind. Now, if it wasn't for his penalty miss against Fulham, he would actually be the second highest scoring midfielder in the game. Now, Bruno has upside in terms of wherever he plays. So yesterday we saw, or Saturday, we saw him play in the number 10 role and obviously end up getting himself a goal, a 10-pointer against Chelsea. Even if he plays a little bit deeper, when he does play that deep role, he does get DEFCONs, and all it takes is an assist or a penalty goal, and he's in 3 bonus points, which is double-digit haul. Now, I'm not a real big fan of Bruno, and I haven't been in part seasons gone by. However, this season with the addition of DEFCONs, my mind has changed. I think he's somebody who consistently, he will get you points. Now, for me personally, these type of players haven't really been that beneficial to me in the past. I like the players who've got high upside. You've got a chance of an 8, a 10, a 6, over the course of 3 game weeks. Whereas Bruno could get you a 10, then he could go down to a 2, to a 3, to a 4, then he might get you a 7 or an 8. So it fluctuates a lot more with him. However, I think in terms of wildcarding from this early on and a long-term hold, Bruno for me is going to be someone that I am almost 99% sure will be in my team. Now, it's not something I would have thought I would have said, before the start of the season, but looking at how he's playing for Man United and how important he is, he's going to play 90 minutes. He's on all set pieces. And like I said, he's on penalties, and all it takes is just that one goal or assist. And he's so good for bonus points. It's almost a double digit. So yeah, Bruno Fernandes is going to be staying and probably coming into my team personally. Then we look at some more cheaper options: Caicedo, Tijani Reinders, Iliman Ndiaye. Iliman Ndiaye is another one who, before the start of the season, was not of any interest to me whatsoever. But we now know he's on penalties, and he's hitting DEFCONs in games as well. So these type of players here, where he's still fairly low, he's under 10% at the moment at the time we're recording this. So these type of players are on the wild card are players that I'm looking at because they're budget enablers like an Iliman Ndiaye and Moises Caicedo. And shout out to one of my friends, if he's watched this, Marley, has owned Caicedo since game week 1, and he's been ticking over wonderfully. Now, I think it's worth to say, if you're looking at Caicedo for attacking returns, he's obviously got 2 goals this season. He's played 4 seasons in the Premier League before this, and each season he's only ever scored 1 goal. So don't expect those goals to continue happening. But for DEFCON, he's pretty much hitting 4 points a game, which, for a central midfielder over the course of the season, they will rack up. So yeah, these type of cheap midfielders, I think you're going to need them at some stage, the budget enablers. Mo Salah is next up on this list. Obviously, we all know how good Mo Salah is. We know what he offers: 90 minutes, penalties, bonus points if he does score. He has been playing very wide for Liverpool, which I think has kind of put a lot of people off. And I understand it, because you want Mo Salah inside, around the box, linking up with everyone, making sure he's a threat in there. However, it's not seeming to be working out at the moment for him. But I still think he's a decent option. I think the problem with him is that a lot of people are going to want to be on Erling Haaland for the wild card, and I think having both of them really does affect the structure of the team, which is something which I don't know if I'm willing to compromise right now. So I put him on the list. He's around that mid price point, obviously, because Liverpool's fixtures are they're okay, but they're not great. But obviously his price point compared to the others is obviously way higher. There are a few other midfielders on this list. They're all sort of hovering around a sort of 10 to 15% own. I won't go through all of them now. The Liverpool midfielders, though, just to clarify my stance on it: Wirtz, Gakpo, I would be going nowhere near them. They're just too much of a minutes risk. You can never guarantee whether one of them's going to start, whether one's going to come off. It's too much of a headache for me. And I know it sounds crazy, because obviously Liverpool will be one of the highest scoring teams this season. But for me, it's just not something that I'll be looking at for a wild card, especially for a long-term hold. They're just not on my radar right now. And then we come on to forwards. Erling Haaland, of course, without a shadow of a doubt, is number 1. I've owned him since game week 1, and he's scored every single game. He's been returning so much at the moment. I think he's got 6 goals in the first 5 games, so fantastic start for him. João Pedro closely followed behind him. I do think, obviously, with the fact that Liam Delap is out injured, we're not sure what's happening with Palmer. So I think João Pedro is going to be a lot more emphasis on him to be Chelsea's creative man, to be Chelsea's guy who's going to, make things happen. So yeah, them two are 1 and 2 right now. I think João Pedro at his price point as well does help enable other moves like a Bruno Fernandes, like a Phil Foden, if you are looking for a differential in Man City there. So yeah, I think I do like João Pedro. We kind of got the midpoint prices: Victor Gyökeres, Jarrod Bowen, Ekitike. Thing with these guys is Bowen and West Ham are not playing well, but Jarrod Bowen always seems to just tick over. And if you are going to invest in someone like that now, he's got a good run of about 4 fixtures where if West Ham are going to score or do anything, it's now. And he's obviously just ticking over very nicely. Even when West Ham are playing so bad, he still somehow finds a way to score. Ekitike is a little bit different. He's actually had a good start to the season. 3 goals in the first 5 games, I think it is. But obviously the minutes are just a big thing for him. And I think as each week goes past, Isak's going to get fitter and fitter. And I do expect him to end up coming into that team and starting. Victor Gyökeres is another one which at the start of the season I was looking forward to. He's had an okay start to the season, same as Ekitike, 3 goals in 5 games. I'm just not sure if I want him long term. And the reason why is not because I don't think he's going to score goals. My biggest problem with Gyökeres is I think he is either a 6-point or a 2-point striker. And what I mean by that is, unless Victor Gyökeres gets 2 attacking returns in a game, i.e. 2 goals or a goal and an assist, he's just not going to hit bonus points, because a goal for him, just a single goal, gets him to about 23, 24 BPS. Usually Arsenal are going to keep clean sheets in most games, right? And when they do, Gabriel, Saliba, Calafiori, Timber, Raya, these guys always get to 28 to 33, which means that they are always going to be in, the bonus points unless Arsenal score multiple goals. Now, at Victor Gyökeres's price point, you'd expect him to be scoring multiple goals, or at least to be getting attacking returns in a game, which, you know, if he's doing that, fine, he will get bonus points and he's a great option. But he's just, Arsenal are just not utilising him, I don't think, as well as maybe we should be. Maybe that's down to team selection. Maybe it just needs to take a little bit longer for him to get used to how everyone's playing. But right now, he just looks like a little bit of a passenger in games. And this is coming from an Arsenal fan. I am an Arsenal fan, so I'm not being overly harsh on him. It's from what I'm seeing with him, he just looks like he's just sort of, the game's sort of going past him a little bit. So Gyökeres is somebody who, before this game week, I would have been 100% confirmed as being in my team. I just wonder if the 9 million price point versus a 9 million midfielder like Bruno, I don't know whether Gyökeres is going to outscore him. So yeah, for me, he's a fine pick if you are going for him, but I would just err on the side of caution with him. Then I got sort of towards the back end of this list. I only got Richarlison and Evan Nilsson here. For me, they're just two players that I'm not really interested in. Richarlison, there's just too much rotation risk. And I don't think Evan Nilsson really is ever going to hit more than, you know, a goal a game at best. I think he always reminds me of like Raul Jimenez a few years ago, where he'll score in a game, but it'll always be a 6-pointer, kind of how we just spoke about Gyökeres. So for me personally, the two strikers that I would 100% be looking at is Haaland and João Pedro. Maybe an outside chance at like a Bowen or Gyökeres, but other than that, I think those two are leading the way by quite some distance. Okay, let me just show you guys what a current draft is looking like for me. Now, bearing in mind, this is very fresh, very raw, so this probably will change throughout the week. So I've gone for Donnarumma in goal, like I said. Dubravka just holds his place, 4 million playing goalkeeper. He's absolutely fine. Back five of Romero, the double up on the Arsenal defence in Gabriel Saliba, Senesi from Bournemouth. And I have gone for James Tarkowski as well. So the way I've worked this out is over the next sort of 7 to 8 game weeks, these players rotate very nicely with each other. Now, obviously, some of them won't be there long term. Tarkowski and Romero are kind of there for more for the short term fixtures. You know, I would probably end up replacing them for like Joachim Anderson, a Palace defender at some point. So those transfers are already kind of pre-transferred in. I'm not sure what game week it will be, but it will happen at some stage. The Arsenal defense are just fine to stay there. Gabriel Saliba I'm happy just to leave them in there for the next, 7-8 game weeks and just let them do their thing. Then we come to the midfield. Bruno Fernandes obviously being the premium and the expensive one. We spoke about him. I just think he has got quite a high upside with him. Semenyo is obviously going to stay. I've got him in my team right now, but he's not going anywhere. Caicedo and Reinders as budget enablers, I think will rotate well with each other nicely and both can take over for points. Stack is in there solely just for financial purposes, but also I think if there's ever a time that I need to call on him, I don't actually think he's that bad of an option either. So yeah, the midfield I think rotate very nicely with each other as well. But up front at the time we're recording this, I've got Haaland and João Pedro who are kind of guarantees. And I have gone for Jarrod Bowen now. I know West Ham have been playing bad and they haven't been that great, but I do think over the next 4 game weeks, Bowen could have potential to do something. And usually when Jarrod Bowen scores, he's always in bonus points because nobody else on West Ham is doing anything. It's kind of him or nothing. So yeah, there's a lot of emphasis on him. I don't know if I'll keep him in my wild card. Obviously, like I said, I will tweet this throughout the week. And then obviously we'll have a look sort of Thursday, Friday morning for a final team selection. But this is what my current wild card draft team is looking like. Like I said, there may be some changes, but overall, I think a fair chunk of these players will probably still be in there come the end of this week. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below. I will be back tomorrow with an FPL challenge video. We'll be back on Wednesday with an FPL bus. And of course, Thursday, we'll be back with our final team selection / Friday morning. And I will show you guys kind of what my wildcard is looking like. We'll compare it up between what we've got today and what we've got by the end of the week, just to see how things change. Obviously, we've got midweek games as well coming up this week, which obviously, injuries, player fitness, all takes a part in it. So yeah, we'll readdress at the end of the week, but thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below, and I'll catch you guys next time.